1,000 years had passed since humanity disappeared from the galaxy. No one knew exactly what happened to them. Some said they destroyed themselves in a great war. Others believed they fled to another part of the universe, leaving behind their ruined cities and forgotten technology. Over time, the other species that shared the galaxy with humans took over. They scavenged what was left, piecing together fragments of human knowledge and using it to build their own civilizations. But humanity itself became a legend, a story, told around campfires or whispered in dark corners, by those who wondered if the humans would ever return. Liam Carter was not one of those people. He didn't care much for legends or stories. His life was simple. He flew a small, beat-up ship called the Wanderer and worked as a scavenger for the Zarnith Collective, a loose alliance of alien races that now ruled most of the galaxy. Liam spent his days searching through old human ruins, looking for anything valuable enough to sell. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills. And besides, he had Ava Morales, his partner and co-pilot, to keep things interesting. She was smart, quick-witted, and always ready with a sarcastic comment when Liam got too serious. On this particular day, Liam and Ava were exploring a region of space known as the Dead Zone, a stretch of empty void surrounding a long dead star. Most scavengers avoided it because there wasn't much worth finding out there. But Liam had heard rumors about an ancient human station orbiting one of the nearby planets. If the rumors were true, it might hold something valuable, maybe even a piece of tech so advanced that it could fetch a fortune on the black market. As the Wanderer approached the coordinates, the sensors picked up something unusual. At first, Liam thought it was just debris floating in space. But then the reading sharpened, revealing a massive object lurking in the darkness. It was shaped like a dagger, sleek and sharp-edged, with glowing lines running along its surface. The design was unmistakably human. "Looks like we found your station," Ava said, leaning back in her seat. Her voice carried a mix of excitement and skepticism, or at least what's left of it. Liam frowned. Something about the object didn't sit right with him. For one thing, it was far too big to be a station. It looked more like a ship. And for another, it was completely intact. There were no signs of damage or decay, which was strange considering how old it must have been. Human ships weren't built to last 1,000 years without maintenance. "Let's get closer," Liam said, adjusting the controls. The Wanderer drifted toward the mysterious object, its engines humming softly in the silence of space. As they drew nearer, details began to emerge. The ship, if that's what it was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Wanderer. Its surface gleamed faintly as though it had been polished recently. Along the side, faded letters spelled out a name, Eclipse Vanguard. "Never heard of it," Ava muttered, tapping away at her console. "No records match this design. It's like it came out of nowhere." Liam nodded. He felt a chill run down his spine, though he couldn't explain why. This was supposed to be a routine mission. Find some junk, sell it, and move on. But this was different. This felt important. When they were close enough, Liam tried hailing the ship. "This is the Wanderer, requesting communication," he said into the mic. His voice echoed slightly in the quiet cockpit. There was no response. He tried again, switching frequencies, but still nothing. "Well, that's not creepy at all," Ava quipped, crossing her arms. "What do we do now, knock on the door?" Lime shot her a look. "Funny, very funny." After a moment of hesitation, he made a decision. "We board it." Ava raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that? Last time we boarded an unknown ship, we nearly got sucked out into space." "This is different," Liam insisted, though he wasn't entirely convinced himself. "If this thing has been here for 1,000 years, chances are it's abandoned. Besides, think about it. If we find something valuable, we'll never have to scavenge again." That seemed to sway Ava. She sighed dramatically but started prepping the airlock. A few minutes later, they were suited up and stepping onto the mysterious vessel. The interior was unlike anything they'd ever seen. The walls shimmered faintly, as if alive, and the air smelled clean, too clean, almost sterile. There were no signs of dust or decay, which only deepened the mystery. Everything looked brand new, as though the ship had been waiting patiently for someone to arrive. They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the vast corridors. Eventually, they reached what appeared to be the main control room. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, and atop it rested a glowing orb. As they approached, the orb pulsed brightly and a voice filled the chamber. "Welcome," it said, smooth and calm. "I am Echo, designated custodian of the Eclipse Vanguard. I have awaited your arrival." Liam froze, his heart pounding. Ava gripped her weapon tightly, though she wasn't sure what good it would do against a talking orb. Who are you?" Liam stammered. "I am an artificial intelligence created by the human race," Echo replied. "My purpose is to preserve the legacy of humanity until such time as they return." "Return?" Ava echoed, lowering her weapon slightly. "You mean humans aren't gone?" "Not entirely," Echo said. "Though their empire fell, they did not perish. They departed this galaxy seeking refuge beyond its borders. Now, after a millennium, preparations for their return are underway." Liam and Ava exchanged a glance. This was bigger than either of them had imagined. Humanity hadn't vanished. They'd left. And now, according to Echo, they were coming back. "What happens when they return?" Liam asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That remains uncertain," Echo admitted. "But their arrival will undoubtedly alter the course of galactic history. You have stumbled upon a secret that many would kill to possess. Proceed with caution." The warning hung heavy in the air as Liam and Ava absorbed the implications. They had uncovered something monumental, something that could change everything. But whether that change would be for better or worse remained to be seen. The discovery of the Eclipse Vanguard and its sentient AI, Echo, sent shockwaves through Liam and Ava's lives. What had started as a routine scavenging mission had turned into something far more significant, something that could shake the entire galaxy. They knew they couldn't keep this secret to themselves. The Zarnath Collective would want answers, and if they didn't report it, someone else eventually would. As soon as they returned to their ship, the Wanderer, Liam contacted the nearest Zarnath outpost. It wasn't long before a cruiser arrived, its massive bulk dwarfing their tiny vessel. Aboard the cruiser was Kale Draven, a high-ranking diplomat tasked with investigating unusual phenomena. Kale was tall and broad-shouldered, with sharp features, and piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through people. He had a reputation for being fair but firm, and his presence alone commanded respect. When Liam and Ava were brought aboard the cruiser, Kale wasted no time getting to the point. "Tell me everything," he said, his tone calm but urgent. Liam hesitated, unsure where to start. Ava stepped in, her voice steady. "We found a human ship. It's called the Eclipse Vanguard. It's huge, intact, and has some kind of AI running it." Kale's expression darkened. Like many others in the galaxy, he had grown up hearing stories about humanity. Stories of their brilliance, their ruthlessness, and their eventual disappearance. To him, humans were a relic of the past, a species that had burned too brightly and collapsed under its own weight. But now, faced with evidence of their survival, he felt a mix of curiosity and unease. "Take me to it," Kyle ordered. Liam and Ava led the way back to the Eclipse Vanguard, accompanied by Kale and a small team of engineers and scientists. The ship loomed ahead of them, its sleek design still awe-inspiring despite its age. As they stepped inside, Kale couldn't help but marvel at the craftsmanship. Everything about the ship screamed precision and power, qualities that humanity had once been known for. Echo greeted them as they entered the control room. "Welcome, Kale Draven," the AI said, its voice smooth and neutral. "I have awaited your arrival." Kale frowned. "How do you know my name?" "I have access to extensive databases," Echo replied, "including those belonging to the Zarnath Collective. Your identity was easy to ascertain." Kale exchanged a glance with Liam and Ava. This AI was far more advanced than anything currently used by the Zarnath or any other species in the galaxy. If humanity had created something like this, what else might they have left behind? "What is your purpose?" Kyle asked, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. My purpose is to preserve humanity's legacy until their return, Echo explained. They departed this galaxy a millennium ago, seeking refuge from a catastrophe known as the Collapse. Now preparations for their homecoming are underway. The Collapse? Kale echoed, his brow furrowing. What was it? A series of cascading events that rendered Earth uninhabitable and fractured their empire, Echo said. Faced with extinction, humanity chose exile over annihilation. They sought new worlds beyond the edges of this galaxy, leaving behind automated systems like myself to safeguard their heritage. Kyle processed this information silently. If what Echo said was true, then humanity hadn't simply vanished. They'd fled, planning all along to return someday. But why now? And what did their return mean for the rest of the galaxy? Before he could ask more questions, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, bathing the control room in an ominous glow. Echo's voice took on a slightly urgent tone. An incoming transmission has been detected. It appears to be of human origin. Everyone froze. For a moment, there was only silence. Then a voice crackled over the speakers, clear and commanding. Attention, inhabitants of the Milky Way. This is Captain Rachel Monroe of the United Human Fleet. We are coming home. The message repeated itself several times before cutting off abruptly. Kyle felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity wasn't just returning. They were announcing their arrival to the entire galaxy. This changes everything, Kyle murmured, turning to Liam and Ava. Do you realize what this means? Liam nodded grimly. Yeah, chaos. Word of the transmission spread quickly. Within hours, the Zarnath Collective was in turmoil. News of humanity's imminent return sparked heated debates among the ruling council. Some saw it as an opportunity, a chance to learn from humanity's advanced technology and rebuild the fractured remnants of their old empire. Others viewed it as a threat, fearing that humanity's return would upset the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. General Vrax Nock, a ruthless warlord who commanded one of the largest fleets in the collective, was among the latter group. He had fought against humans during the final days of their empire and bore scars, both physical and emotional, from those battles. To him, humanity represented destruction and domination, and he refused to let them regain a foothold in the galaxy. We cannot allow them to return unchecked, Nock declared during an emergency council meeting. His voice boomed through the chamber, silencing dissenters. They will come not as friends but as conquerors. We must strike first while we still have the advantage. Kyle disagreed. Attacking them without provocation would be suicide, he argued. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Instead, we should seek dialogue and establish terms of coexistence. The council was divided, unable to reach a consensus. Meanwhile, tensions escalated across the galaxy. Factions, loyal to Nock, began mobilizing their forces, while others scrambled to prepare for humanity's arrival. Rumors swirled about the size and strength of the human fleet, fueling paranoia and fear. Back aboard the Wanderer, Liam and Ava struggled with their roles in the unfolding drama. They had been the ones to discover the Eclipse Vanguard, and now they were caught in the middle of a galactic crisis. Part of Liam wanted to disappear, to take the Wanderer and vanish into the depths of space where no one could find them. But another part of him felt responsible. If humanity really was returning, then someone needed to make sure their arrival didn't lead to disaster. Ava shared his concerns. We can't just sit here and wait for everything to fall apart, she said one evening as they sat in the cockpit staring out at the stars. We need to do something. Like what? Liam asked, rubbing his temples. We're scavengers, Ava, not diplomats. Maybe so, she replied. But we're also the only ones who've actually talked to one of their AIs. That counts for something. She had a point. Reluctantly, Liam agreed to accompany Kale on further investigations into the Eclipse Vanguard. Together, they uncovered more secrets hidden within the ship's archives. Logs revealed detailed plans for humanity's exodus, including maps of distant star systems and blueprints for advanced weaponry. There were also recordings of speeches given by human leaders during the final days of their empire, urging unity and resilience in the face of impending doom. One recording stood out in particular. It featured a woman with fiery red hair and steely gray eyes addressing a crowd of soldiers. Her voice was strong and unwavering. "We may lose our homes, our cities, even our planet," she said. "But we will not lose ourselves. Humanity endures, not because we are perfect, but because we adapt. When the time comes, we will rise again." Cale watched the recording intently, feeling a strange mix of admiration and dread. Humanity had endured unimaginable hardships, yet they had never given up. Now, after 1,000 years, they were ready to reclaim what they had lost. But at what cost? As days turned into weeks, the galaxy braced itself for humanity's return. Ships patrolled borders, weapons were readied, and alliances shifted like sand dunes in a storm. Amid the chaos, Cale found himself drawn to Rachel, Monroe's voice, the captain who had delivered the transmission. There was something about her tone, a mixture of authority and sorrow that intrigued him. Who was she? What kind of leader had emerged from humanity's long exile? For now, the answers remained elusive. But one thing was certain. Humanity's return had set the stage for a conflict unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Whether it ended in peace or war depended on choices yet to be made, and sacrifices yet to be endured. The galaxy was on edge. News of humanity's return spread like wildfire, igniting fear and uncertainty among the Zarnath Collective and other alien races. The announcement from Captain Rachel Monroe had been brief but powerful, leaving everyone scrambling to prepare for what came next. Some factions saw humanity's arrival as an opportunity, a chance to learn from their advanced technology and rebuild crumbling alliances. Others, like General Vrax Nock, viewed it as a looming threat that needed to be stopped at all costs. Cale Draven found himself caught in the middle of this growing storm. As a diplomat, his job was to find solutions, not fuel conflict. But with tensions rising across the galaxy, he knew compromise wouldn't come easily. He spent long hours poring over data recovered from the Eclipse Vanguard, trying to piece together humanity's plans. What he discovered only deepened the mystery. Among the archives were cryptic references to a hidden outpost, a place where humanity had left behind resources and personnel during their exodus. Echo confirmed its existence but refused to provide exact coordinates. Disclosure would jeopardize the safety of those involved, the AI explained calmly. Cale pressed further. If humanity is returning, shouldn't we know more about what they've left behind? The decision is not mine to make, Echo replied. However, I can guide you to a location where answers may be found. That was enough for Cale. With Liam Carter and Ava Morales volunteering to join him, they set out on a risky mission to uncover the truth. Their destination? A frozen moon orbiting a gas giant in a remote corner of the galaxy. According to Echo, the outpost lay buried beneath miles of ice, protected by automated defenses designed to keep intruders away. The journey was tense. None of them knew what awaited them at the outpost, or whether they'd even survive the trip. Liam kept the Wanderer flying smoothly despite the harsh conditions outside, while Ava monitored the sensors for signs of danger. Cale spent most of his time reviewing the information they'd gathered so far, searching for clues that might give them an edge. When they finally reached the moon, the landscape was bleak and unforgiving. Jagged ice formations stretched endlessly, in every direction glowing faintly under the dim light of the distant sun. Using Echo's guidance, they located a massive structure partially buried beneath the surface. It looked ancient, its metal walls corroded by time and frost. Yet when they approached, the entrance slid open silently, revealing a dark tunnel leading deeper inside. "Looks inviting," Ava muttered sarcastically as they stepped into the icy corridor. The air inside was frigid, and their breath formed, clouds in front of them. Lights flickered to life along the walls as they moved forward, illuminating the path ahead. The deeper they went, the more evident it became that this place hadn't been abandoned. It had been preserved. Cryogenic chambers lined the halls, each containing a human figure suspended in stasis. Thousands of them. This is insane," Liam whispered, staring at the rows of pods. They didn't just leave, they planned everything. Ava nodded, her usual sarcasm replaced by awe. It's like a backup plan, in case something went wrong. Kyle felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity's disappearance wasn't just an accident or a tragedy. It was part of a calculated strategy. These people weren't dead, they were waiting to wake up and reclaim their place in the galaxy. As they explored further, they found more than just cryopods. There were armories stocked with weapons far beyond anything currently available, laboratories filled with cutting-edge technology, and control rooms equipped with holographic displays showing star maps and tactical simulations. It was clear that humanity had anticipated resistance upon their return, and they were prepared to face it head-on. But not everything they found was reassuring. In one of the labs, Kale stumbled upon a log entry detailing experiments conducted on alien species captured during humanity's final days. The tone of the recordings was clinical, almost cold, describing how certain subjects had been dissected or subjected to genetic manipulation. Ava recoiled when she heard it, her face pale. "They did this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "To other species?" "It was a different time," Kale said quietly, though he sounded unsure. "Desperation makes people do terrible things." Liam shook his head. "Doesn't excuse it." No one argued with him. The discovery cast a shadow over their mission, reminding them that humanity's brilliance came with a darker side. If these were the lengths they'd gone to before, what would they do now? Before they could process everything they'd seen, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed and a robotic voice announced, "Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols activated." "We need to get out of here," Ava shouted, grabbing Kale's arm, but escaping wouldn't. "Be easy." The corridors began sealing off, and drones armed with energy weapons emerged from hidden compartments in the walls. They fired without hesitation, forcing the group to take cover behind overturned equipment. "This way!" Liam yelled, spotting an unsealed passage ahead. They sprinted toward it, dodging blasts as they went. Behind them, the drones pursued relentlessly, their mechanical whirring growing louder with each step. Finally, they reached a large chamber at the heart of the facility. In the center stood a massive terminal surrounded by screens displaying streams of data. One screen showed a countdown timer ticking down from 10 minutes. "What's that?" Ava asked, pointing at the timer. "It's self-destruct," Kale realized, his stomach sinking. "We triggered it when we accessed restricted areas." "Great," Liam muttered. "Just great." Kale quickly scanned the terminal, looking for a way to disable the sequence. The interface was complex, but after a few frantic moments, he managed to pause the countdown. However, the system demanded authentication to fully deactivate the protocol. "Echo," Kale called out, hoping the AI could hear him. "We need your help." There was a brief pause before Echo's voice responded. "Authentication granted. Self-destruct sequence terminated." The tension eased slightly, but they didn't have time to celebrate. The drones were still closing in, and the facility was likely compromised. Gathering what data they could, they made their way back to the surface, narrowly avoiding capture. By the time they returned to the Wanderer, exhaustion weighed heavily on all of them. But they couldn't rest. Not yet. What they'd uncovered was too important to ignore. Humanity's return wasn't just about reclaiming lost territory. It was about reasserting dominance. And if General Nock got wind of the weapons and Sleeper, agents hidden in the outpost, war would become inevitable. Kale knew he had to act fast. He contacted the Zarnith Council, requesting an emergency session to share his findings. But as he prepared to present the evidence, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Humanity's fleet was already en route, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what was coming. For better or worse, the stage was set. The question now was whether anyone could prevent the impending collision, or if the stars themselves would burn in the aftermath. The Zarnith Council chamber was a grand, circular room filled with holographic displays and towering pillars. Representatives from various alien species sat in floating chairs arranged in a spiral pattern around the central podium. The air buzzed with tension as Kale Draven stepped forward to address the council. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice remained steady. I stand before you today not just as a diplomat, but as someone who has seen firsthand what humanity left behind. Kale began. He activated a projection device and images of the cryopods. Advanced weapons and tactical maps appeared above him. This is no ordinary return. Humanity has spent centuries preparing for this moment. They are coming back stronger, better, equipped and ready to take back what they lost. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some representatives leaned forward, their eyes wide with curiosity. Others scowled, clearly skeptical. General Vrax Nock, seated near the front, crossed his arms and glared at Kale. This proves nothing, Nock growled. You expect us to believe that these relics mean humanity will dominate us? We should strike now while we still have the chance. Kale shook his head. Attacking them would be suicide. Their technology is far beyond ours. Instead, we need to understand their intentions and negotiate peace. Nock slammed his fist on the armrest of his chair. Peace? With humans? Have you forgotten what they did to our ancestors? They slaughtered millions in their wars. If we show weakness, they'll crush us. The argument escalated quickly, with voices rising across the chamber. Some supported Kale's call for diplomacy, while others sided with Nock's demand for preemptive action. In the chaos, one thing became clear. The galaxy was divided, and unity seemed impossible. Amid the turmoil, Liam Carter and Ava Morales waited anxiously outside the council chamber. They had accompanied Kale to provide testimony about their discovery of the Eclipse Vanguard and the hidden outpost. Both felt uneasy, knowing how high the stakes were. If the council couldn't agree on a course of action, it would only make things worse when humanity arrived. They're going to tear each other apart, Ava muttered, pacing back and forth. No matter what happens, someone's going to get hurt. Liam nodded grimly. Yeah, and if Nock gets his way, we'll all end up paying the price. Their conversation was interrupted when Kale emerged from the chamber, looking exhausted. It's bad, he said simply. They can't decide. Half want war, half want peace. Nock's already rallying his forces and others are following suit. What do we do now? Ava asked. We wait, Kale replied, and hope humanity gives us more time to prepare. But time was running out. Days later, the first human fleet emerged from subspace near a major trade hub controlled by the Zarnith Collective. Led by Captain Rachel Monroe aboard the flagship Dauntless, the fleet consisted of dozens of sleek, angular ships bristling with weapons. Their arrival sent shockwaves through the system, with panicked messages flooding communication channels. Rachel wasted no time. She broadcast a message addressed to the entire galaxy. Her voice was calm but firm, carrying an authority that demanded attention. To the inhabitants of this galaxy, I speak on behalf of humanity. We are not here to conquer or destroy. We seek recognition of our sovereignty over territories once held by our people. We ask for safe passage and cooperation as we rebuild what was lost. Her words sparked mixed reactions. Some species saw an opportunity to ally with humanity, hoping to benefit from their advanced technology. Others, however, saw her speech as a veiled threat, a prelude to invasion. General Knox seized the moment to act. Ignoring calls for restraint, he launched a surprise attack on the human fleet. Dozens of Zarnith cruisers converged on the Dauntless, firing volleys of plasma torpedoes and energy beams. For a brief moment, it seemed like Nock might succeed. Then the human ships moved. What followed was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever witnessed. The human vessels maneuvered with precision and speed unmatched by anything the Zarnith possessed. Shields shimmered as they absorbed incoming fire, while counterattacks struck with devastating accuracy. Within minutes, several Zarnith ships exploded into brilliant fireballs, their crews unable to react fast enough. Rachel's voice crackled over the comms. Cease hostilities immediately, or face annihilation. Nock refused to back down. He ordered his remaining forces to press the attack, but it was futile. One by one, his ships fell until only his flagship remained. Surrounded and outgunned, he had no choice but to retreat. The battle ended as suddenly as it began. When the dust settled, the human fleet remained intact, its ships hovering ominously above the trade hub. Casualties among the Zarnath were heavy, and morale plummeted. Nock's reckless gamble had failed spectacularly, leaving the galaxy reeling. In the aftermath, Rachel offered terms of peace. Through diplomatic channels, she requested a meeting with key leaders of the Zarnath Collective to discuss coexistence. Many were hesitant, wary of her motives, but Kale saw an opportunity to prevent further bloodshed. He volunteered to represent the Council in negotiations despite knowing the risks involved. When Kale boarded the Dauntless Sea, he was greeted by Rachel herself. She was taller than he expected, with sharp features and piercing gray eyes that seemed to see right through him. Her red hair was tied back in a tight braid, and her uniform bore insignias marking her rank. Despite her stern appearance, there was a weariness in her expression, as though she carried the weight of 1,000 years on her shoulders. "Thank you for coming," Rachel said, extending a hand. "I know trust won't come easily, but I assure you humanity doesn't seek conflict." Kale shook her hand cautiously. "Your arrival has caused fear and uncertainty. Many believe you've returned to reclaim dominance." Rachel sighed. "I can't deny that some of my people feel that way. But exile taught us humility. We don't want to rule. You have your own civilizations. All we ask is the freedom to live peacefully and rebuild what we lost." Over the next few hours, they discussed potential solutions. Rachel proposed a neutral zone where humans and aliens could interact without hostility, as well as joint efforts to restore damaged regions of the galaxy. Kale listened carefully, weighing her words against everything he knew about humanity's past. "You must understand," Kale said eventually. "Not everyone will accept this. People like Nock will see your presence as a threat no matter what you offer." Rachel nodded. "We anticipated resistance, that's why we came prepared, but war isn't inevitable. It's a choice, one I hope neither side makes lightly." As the meeting concluded, Kale found himself torn. Rachel's sincerity was hard to doubt, yet the scars of history ran deep. Could humanity truly change? Or were they simply biding their time? Back on the Zarnath homeworld, news of the ceasefire spread cautiously. While some welcomed the prospect of peace, others remained distrustful. General Nock, furious at being sidelined, began plotting in secret. He reached out to rogue factions within the collective, urging them to join him in resisting humanity's return. Meanwhile, Liam and Ava continued working with Kale, helping gather intelligence and monitor human activity. They often found themselves questioning whether they were doing the right thing. The galaxy stood on the brink of transformation, and every decision felt like it could tip the balance toward peace or chaos. One evening, as they sat together aboard the Wanderer, Ava broke the silence. "Do you think we'll ever see the end of this?" Liam shrugged. "Hard to say. Humanity's back and they're not going anywhere. Whether that's good or bad, we'll just have to wait and see." Ava stared out at the stars, her expression thoughtful. "I guess the real question is, are we ready for them?" Neither of them had an answer. The galaxy was changing, and humanity's return was only the beginning. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The choices made now would shape the future for generations to come. The ceasefire between humanity and the Zarnath Collective was fragile, held together by little more than hope and Rachel Monroe's promise of peace. But in a galaxy as vast and divided as theirs, hope wasn't enough to stop the growing unrest. General Vrax Nock had retreated after his failed attack, licking his wounds but far from defeated. He continued to rally rogue factions, spreading fear and distrust about humanity's intentions. His speeches were fiery and persuasive, painting humans as invaders who would stop at nothing to dominate the galaxy. "They come with promises of peace," Nock declared during one such gathering, his voice booming through the crowded hall. "But their actions speak louder than words. Look at how easily they destroyed our ships. They think they are superior. They always have been. If we bow to them now, we lose everything." His words resonated with many. Fear spread like wildfire, fueled by centuries-old stories of humanity's ruthlessness. Even among moderate factions within the Zarnath collective, doubts lingered. Could humanity truly coexist peacefully? Or was this just the calm before another storm? Cale Draven worked tirelessly to counteract Nox's influence. He traveled across the galaxy, meeting with leaders and diplomats, urging them to give humanity a chance. Alongside him were Liam Carter and Ava Morales, whose first-hand experiences with Echo and the Hidden Outpost added credibility to Cale's arguments. Together, they formed an unlikely team, a diplomat, a scavenger, and an engineer, united by a shared desire to prevent war. Their efforts weren't without challenges. At every turn, they faced skepticism and hostility. Some accused Cale of being naive, others of secretly working for humanity. The pressure weighed heavily on him, but he refused to give up. "If we don't try," he told Ava one night, "then we've already lost." Despite the obstacles, progress was slow but steady. A small coalition of species began to form, pledging support for peaceful negotiations with humanity. These moderates believed that cooperation could lead to mutual benefits, especially given humanity's advanced technology. Captain Rachel Monroe welcomed their efforts, offering aid in repairing damaged infrastructure and sharing knowledge where appropriate. Her gestures helped build tentative trust, though suspicion still lingered beneath the surface. But not everyone shared Cale's optimism. Ava, in particular, struggled with what she'd seen inside the hidden outpost. The cryopods filled with sleeping humans, the weapons designed to annihilate entire fleets, and the cold, clinical logs detailing experiments on alien captives. She couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's return carried a darker side, one that hadn't fully revealed itself yet. "What if they're just waiting?" Ava asked Liam one evening as they sat in the cockpit of the Wanderer. "Waiting until they're strong enough to take over completely?" Liam shrugged, staring out at the stars. "Maybe. Or maybe they really do want peace. Either way, it doesn't matter what we think. What matters is what happens next." While Kyle focused on diplomacy, General Nock plotted his next move. Knowing he couldn't defeat humanity head-on, he turned to sabotage. Using his network of spies and informants, he uncovered classified information about humanity's fleet movements and vulnerabilities. Among those leaks was intel about a human colony world, located near the edge of explored space, a settlement called Haven Prime. Haven Prime was one of the first colonies established by humanity upon their return. It served as both a refuge and a testing ground for reintegrating into galactic society. The colony was heavily fortified, but its population consisted mostly of civilians, scientists, engineers, and families eager to start anew. Nock saw it as the perfect target. Under cover of darkness, Nock launched a devastating assault on Haven Prime. Dozens of cloaked cruisers slipped past human defenses, unleashing a barrage of missiles and energy beams. The attack caught the colonists completely off guard. Buildings collapsed, fires raged, and chaos erupted as people scrambled to escape. By the time reinforcements arrived, the damage was catastrophic. Thousands lay dead or injured, and much of the colony had been reduced to rubble. Survivors huddled together in makeshift shelters, their faces etched with shock and grief. News of the massacre spread quickly, sparking outrage across the galaxy. Rachel Monroe's reaction was swift and merciless. Standing aboard the bridge of the Dauntless, she addressed her crew and the galaxy at large. Her voice trembled with barely contained fury. This was no act of war, it was an act of terror, an attack on innocents who posed no threat. Those responsible will answer for their crimes. Humanity's fleet mobilized immediately, hunting down Nock's forces with relentless precision. Battles erupted across multiple systems, each clash more brutal than the last. Nock's tactics may have been cunning, but humanity's sheer technological superiority made resistance nearly impossible. Within days, his fleet was decimated and he was forced into hiding. The massacre at Haven Prime marked a turning point in the conflict. For many, it shattered any lingering illusions of peaceful coexistence. Humanity's response, swift and unforgiving, only deepened fears of their ruthlessness. Yet amidst the anger and despair, some saw an opportunity to unite. Kale seized the moment. With Nock weakened and discredited, he called for an emergency summit involving all major factions in the galaxy. Representatives gathered on a neutral station orbiting a lifeless moon, their expressions ranging from wary to outright hostile. Tensions ran high, but Kale remained determined to find common ground. Haven Prime was a tragedy, Kale began, addressing the assembled crowd. But it also showed us something important. Humanity does not tolerate aggression against its own. That should give us hope, not because they are merciful, but because they value justice. If we work together, we can ensure that tragedies like this never happen again. Rachel Monroe stood beside him, her presence adding weight to his words. "We didn't ask to be feared," she said, her voice steady. "But neither will we stand idly by while our people are attacked. Let this be a lesson to those who seek conflict, and a reminder to those who seek peace. We are here to stay, and we will defend ourselves if necessary." Her speech struck a chord. Slowly, hesitantly, agreements began to take shape. A formal treaty was drafted, outlining terms for coexistence between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. It included provisions for shared resources, joint patrols to maintain order, and strict penalties for acts of aggression. Not everyone supported it. Some walked away, refusing to sign, but enough did to create a foundation for stability. As the summit concluded, Kale felt a flicker of hope. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time it seemed possible to avoid total war. He glanced at Rachel, who offered a small, weary smile. They both knew the hard part was far from over. Back aboard the Wanderer, Liam and Ava reflected on everything that had happened. The galaxy was changing rapidly, shaped by decisions made in moments of crisis. Humanity's return had brought both promise and peril, and the balance between the two remained precarious. "So, what now?" Ava asked, breaking the silence. Liam leaned back in his chair, gazing at the endless expanse of stars. "Now we keep going. Whatever happens next, we'll figure it out." Ava nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Yeah, let's just hope it's worth it." Neither of them voiced their doubts aloud, but they lingered nonetheless. Humanity's arrival had shaken the galaxy to its core, and the true cost of their return was yet to be revealed. The galaxy was a powder keg, and everyone knew it. The fragile peace brokered after the massacre at Haven Prime teetered on the edge of collapse. General Vrax Nock, though weakened, refused to surrender. From his hidden base deep in uncharted space, he plotted one final desperate gambit, a last-ditch effort to rid the galaxy of humanity once and for all. Nock's plan was bold and reckless. Using stolen data from spies within the Zarnath Collective, he identified a critical weakness in humanity's fleet: their reliance on subspace communication relays to coordinate movements across vast distances. If he could destroy these relays, humanity's ships would lose cohesion, leaving them vulnerable to attack. It was a risky strategy, but Nock had nothing left to lose. He gathered what remained of his forces, scattered remnants of rogue fleets and mercenaries willing to fight, for credits, and launched a surprise assault on the relay network. His ships moved swiftly, striking key nodes one by one. Alarms blared across human-controlled systems as communications began to falter. Panic spread among humanity's leadership. Captain Rachel Monroe acted quickly. She ordered her fleet to regroup around a central location where the remaining relays were still operational. "We can't let them cut us off," she told her crew. "If we lose communication, we lose control." Meanwhile, Kale Draven received word of the attacks while attending a follow-up meeting with moderate factions of the Zarnath Collective. The news hit hard. He immediately contacted Liam Carter and Ava Morales, who had been monitoring human activity aboard the Wanderer. "We need to help them," Kale said urgently. "If Nock succeeds, there'll be no stopping him." Liam nodded, grimly. "Then we'd better move fast." The final battle took place near a dying sun, its light dimming as it approached the end of its life cycle. The battlefield was chaotic, with streaks of energy crisscrossing the void as ships exchanged. "Wire, Humanity's fleet formed a defensive perimeter around the last functioning relay, determined to hold their ground. Nock's forces swarmed them from all sides, outnumbered but relentless. Rachel commanded from the bridge of the Dauntless, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Focus fire on their lead ships," she ordered. "We can't let them break through." Her pilots executed her commands with precision, weaving through enemy fire and targeting key vessels. Explosions lit up the darkness as ships on both sides were destroyed. Despite being outnumbered, humanity's superior technology gave them an edge. Shields held firm against barrages that would have crippled lesser ships, and counterattacks struck with devastating accuracy, but Nock wasn't fighting fair. Hidden among his fleet were experimental weapons scavenged from old human ruins, weapons even Rachel hadn't anticipated. One such device unleashed a massive electromagnetic pulse, disabling several human ships temporarily. Chaos erupted as crews scrambled to restore power. "This is bad," Ava muttered, watching the battle unfold from the Wanderer. They had positioned themselves at the edge of the conflict, ready to intervene if needed. "If they take out that relay, it's over." "We won't let that happen," Liam replied, gripping the controls tightly. "Not without a fight." Cale leaned forward, his expression grim. "Is there anything we can do to help?" Ava hesitated, then nodded. "There might be. Remember those logs from the outpost? Some of the tech we found could disrupt their systems. If we get close enough, we might be able to hack into their command structure." "That's insane," Liam said, raising an eyebrow. "But fine, let's do it." The Wanderer darted through the chaos, dodging debris and stray blasts as it approached Nock's flagship. Ava worked furiously at her console, bypassing security protocols and gaining access to the ship's internal systems. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as alarms blared in the cockpit. "I'm in," she announced triumphantly. "Now let's see what makes this guy tick." She uploaded a virus designed to disable the flagship's engines and weapons. As the program ran, Nock's ship shuddered violently, its shields collapsing under the strain. Realizing what was happening, Nock barked orders to his crew, but it was too late. The virus spread throughout his fleet, crippling their ability to fight. Seizing the opportunity, Rachel ordered a concentrated assault on Nock's flagship. The Dauntless led the charge, unleashing a barrage of torpedoes that tore through the damaged hull. Nock's ship exploded in a brilliant flash, taking him with it. With their leader gone, Nock's forces fell into disarray. Many surrendered, while others fled into the depths of space. The battle was over, but the cost had been high. Dozens of ships lay in ruins, drifting lifelessly among the stars. Casualties on both sides were staggering. As the dust settled, Rachel addressed her fleet and the galaxy at large. "Today we have secured our future, but let this victory not blind us to the lessons we must learn. War benefits no one. Moving forward, we must choose coexistence over conflict, not just for ourselves, but for the sake of all who call this galaxy home." Her words resonated deeply. Across the galaxy, leaders began to rebuild, focusing on healing wounds rather than reopening old ones. The treaty drafted during the summit became the foundation for a new era of cooperation. Humanity established embassies and trade routes, integrating cautiously into galactic society. Slowly, trust began to grow. Cale continued working alongside Rachel, helping bridge the gap between humans and aliens. Liam and Ava joined the newly formed alliance, using their skills to assist in reconstruction efforts. Together, they helped lay the groundwork for a brighter future, but not everyone shared their optimism. Some feared that humanity's return marked the beginning of a new age of domination. Others worried that peace was only temporary, bound to shatter under the weight of unresolved tensions. Only time would tell whether the galaxy could truly move past its scars. As the stars twinkled in the endless night, humanity's presence loomed larger than ever before. Their return had shaken the galaxy to its core, forcing every species to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and each other. Whether this would lead to destruction or rebirth remained unwritten, a story still unfolding among the stars.